In the previous piece, this is about Gertrude Stein. In the previous piece, I referred to Gertrude Stein and something she'd written, namely, If I Told Him, a completed portrait of Picasso. I said no more, and I find I want to. She was an oddball's oddball, but she deserves more than a passing remark. So she wrote a portrait of Picasso. He painted a portrait of her, too, and it comes with a famous anecdote attached. When Stein saw the finished work, she is supposed to have said, "But that looks nothing like me," to which Picasso replied, "It will." Gertrude Stein wrote a lot. The autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, The Making of Americans, Lucy Church Amiably, Tender Buttons, on and on. She and Alice Toklas lived in Paris and they collected art. They had paintings from all the artists working there at that time, all over their walls. Many people would come to visit them. Ernest Hemingway was one, for a time a regular, and she did her best to talk to him about writing. The piece I mentioned before begins, "If I told him, would he like it? Would he like it if I told him?" It seems the same, nearly repetitive, and there should be no difference between the two statements. And yet the simple rearrangement of the phrases results in two different meanings. Later in the piece she wrote, "Shutters shut and open." Pretty basic stuff. Most of her stuff is. It can sound like babbling and baby talk, but it's not. She is conducting experiments with words. What to make of the shutters? Well, by the exact name, shutter, we would expect that a shutter can do but one thing, and that is shut. But a shutter can also, surprise, open. The conclusion we can draw from this is that the word shutter is not only imprecise, it can also be misleading. Extrapolating from that, we can see that language, words, can be deceiving in themselves. They need to be handled carefully, almost like explosives. We must find a way to communicate that somehow overcomes or avoids this inherent duplicity and potential deception in language. Most famously, Miss Stein wrote, "A rose is a rose is a rose," a deliberately chosen extreme example of what it means to be precise. Saying it like that almost lets the rose bloom. This precision is important, crucial, if you are trying to communicate. In the Picasso work, she emphasizes the words presently, now, and exactly, exactitude. Exact resemblance to exact resemblance, she writes. The picture is not the same as what is being painted. That makes me think of the work of René Magritte. Her writing can be like that, presenting the unexpected, trains chugging out of fireplaces. Metaphors, she would have told Hemingway, can be colorful or striking, but they're also deceptive, illusory. Avoid them. Avoid that way of thinking. The hills may look like white elephants, but in fact they're hills, not white elephants. Remember that. They are what they are. A rose is a rose is a rose. Or another famous formulation directed at Dr. Freud, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. She broke her own writing down into fundamental blocks, starting with words and building from there, composition. One I land, two I land, three the land, three the land, three the land. The method to her madness, taking delight in being literal, sounding childish. It can be both clever and irritating. I think it did get through to Hemingway. Strip away everything that is not essential. Combine those essentials. They will be both your style and your content. There will be no difference between the two, what you say and how you say it. So shutters shut and open. Be careful. Be precise. I think the way her portrait of Picasso ends would have pleased Henry Adams. I think he would have understood it and prized it as a vital part of his education. He considered himself to be, after all, an historian. Note the shifting of meanings, delicate and firm. Miracles play fairly well, as or as presently. Let me recite what history teaches. History teaches.